And we're live! Hello, my name is Sophia Botha, and welcome to Botha Rants, where we look through all the political and LGBTQ related stories of interest. Well, interest to me. And for once, I haven't fucked up the introduction. Okay, a few things before we get going. Yesterday, I interviewed Vera Wild. Actually, I didn't really interview. We had a chat. I should stop saying interview. It makes it sound so official, doesn't it? I had a chat with Vera Wild, better known as Council of Geeks. I really enjoyed it because we didn't just talk about trans issues. We geeked out about Doctor Who and Stanley Kubrick and other things of interest to me and to her. Also, I'd like to thank one of my latest subscriber, Larry Bundy Jr. Hello, you. Yes, Larry. I know Larry. If you're a retro gamer, go and check out his channel because he's got some great content. Unfortunately, I can't always see the latest subscribers. Some are incognito. Anyways, on with the show. Oh yeah, one other thing I need to mention. On Monday, I said about Gina Carano saying that she can't get work in Hollywood because she's a conservative, and I said, "Oh, what about Chris Pratt?" And suddenly, when I looked at my film collection, I did a face palm because Clint Eastwood, he's a conservative, and I've probably got more films in my film collection which involve Clint Eastwood than any other actor in Hollywood, whether it's directing or starring in. I've got all the Sergio Leone films, obviously, he was in. I've got a few of his, a couple of his Clint's westerns, High Plains Drifter, which I highly recommend. Very dark film, not easy to watch, but very good. One film Clint no longer talks about, funny enough. Also, The Unforgiven, of course, great fucking western. Of course, the first Dirty Harry film and the subsequent sequel, Magnum Force. And also I've got films directed by him like Invictus. Now, Clint's a conservative, right? But I think the difference between, say, him and Gina Carano is that he's socially liberal. He's somebody, I think he does describe himself as a conservative libertarian, doesn't he, sometimes? I know he supported gay marriage, for instance. And he still makes great films up to this day. I mean, The Mule, I actually really enjoyed. Anyways, that's just a thing I just forgot to say. I always have brain farts. Anyways, on with the show. We've got a packed show tonight. Boy, it's packed. Okay. So, the usual housekeeping. If you like my content and you want to follow me on Twitter, then please do so. I generally will follow most people back as long as I got stuff of interest written in their bio and not stuff they're trying to sell me, or if they are a TERF or Nazi troll. That's the rule, I will follow people back. Anyways, if you don't want to follow me on Twitter, then have a think. I always put it on that fucking page and I shouldn't. Then think about supporting me on Patreon. I'll admit I haven't been keeping up with updating my Patreon page as I should, but hey, I'm still getting in the groove of doing this YouTube stuff. So, anyways, if you want to support me on Patreon, you can do so for £3 a month. Sorry, £3 sterling a month. I don't know how many dollars that is currently. Oh no, sorry, it is in dollars, isn't it? Shit, another brain fart. Yeah, sorry, it is actually in dollars. So yeah, $3 a month. I don't know how many pounds that is. I would imagine it's about probably £1.60, unless the value of the pound has gone down again. And well, due to Brexit, it probably will. Anyways, enough of that. We'll get on to Brexit in a little while. You can you can sub me on Patreon. Much appreciated, because it would help me do stuff with this channel, believe it or not. I am not going to fuck off to Barbados, believe me. So please think about doing so. If you just want to give me a one-off donation, there is a PayPal link below. Still don't know if it works, because, well, still haven't received any donations. Obviously not compulsory, and I'll keep on doing this show no matter what. Anyways, just before I came on air, this story broke. Ding dong, the witch is dead, the witch is dead, the witch is dead. Ding dong, the witch is dead. Oh, come on, you didn't expect me to be all weepy about some evil GOP gobshite talk show radio host, do you? Dying. I mean, the girl was an evil cunt. Okay, I'm just going to say Rush Limbaugh was an evil cunt. There you are, I've said it. And I'm sure, you know, around America, in liberal households tonight, there will be champagne corks popping. I reckon people will be partying. The thing is, you can't really say the world is a better place without him, because there will always be some person who will replace him. Whether it be Sean Hannity or Michael Savage or even Alex Jones, goodness forbid. But, yeah, there will be another conservative gobshite. Because this only just broke, I haven't really had time to sort of collate or gather together all the evil shit he said about various things. But we might do that on Friday. So yeah, Rush Limbaugh dead at the age of 70. Yeah. Oh yeah, by the way, before I go, he was also a fucking hypocrite, because like he was saying like one evil thing I do remember him saying. And he was like condemning people who do drugs. It turned out, of course, he had an opioid addiction, didn't it? Fucking hypocrite. Anyways, on we go. Right, now I can't show you any of this because CNN are being a bit funny about fair use, in that they're being arseholes about it. I know other people have had trouble streaming this, so I'm not going to. However, I have watched it. This is the town hall event CNN hosted with Joe Biden. A few thoughts. First of all, Joe Biden is at least willing to listen to the electorate and not just his own supporter base. Secondly, he's willing to talk to the electorate and not just his supporter base. And three, I agree with him repeatedly saying throughout this, I am fed up with talking about Donald Trump. Aren't we all? Aren't we fucking all? I thought he put a good performance in, except at the beginning where he said, I prefer kids to people. And you just know the far right are going to use that against him with all the accusations that supposedly he's a paedophile. He's not, by the way. It's just bullshit. I mean, the bullshit. Even I fell for the bullshit about Joe Biden supposedly having dementia. This is, something the far right have been putting out about Joe Biden since the fucking 1990s, because he has a stammer. I'll say it. Joe Biden came over as I've warmed to Joe Biden, and let's remember, a year ago, it was Sanders, and I would obviously prefer a President Sanders because, hey, we might get some real deal socialism, or at least, far more lefty progressive policies, but. Biden has surpassed my expectations. However, there is one thing I do disagree with him about, and it's to do with Julian Assange. Yes, the US government, obviously, UK courts have blocked Assange's extradition to the United States. But Biden has instructed the DOJ, the Department of Justice, to appeal that decision. look, Assange is an arsehole, okay? But Biden shouldn't be trying to throw him in jail for exposing a war crime. He should be giving him a fucking medal, along with Chelsea Manning, who, let's remember, was the one responsible for getting that war crime exposed. I mean, you know, sure, people still think he has questions to answer about rape allegations in Sweden, though my understanding is that case has now been closed. Look, I mean, as I say, the guy is a bit of an arsehole, so who knows about his private life. But as for, you know, the US wanting to extradite him, no. He did the right thing in exposing what he did about US involvement in Iraq. So, yeah, I disagree with Biden about that. Well, it wouldn't be a show without mentioning Marjorie Taylor Greene. So, a couple of days ago, a father of a child with Down syndrome tried to confront her at a town hall meeting in Georgia for some pretty ripe ableist things she has said online. Let's have a watch.
Sean Holmes says he didn't know Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene would be speaking here at the weekly Whitfield County GOP meeting on Tuesday night. But when the opportunity presented itself for him to confront Greene over her use of the R word in a past video, he says he had his son on his mind.
It's stupid simple.
Oh, I should warn people, the R smear is about to be said, so I'll just give you that warning.
But we have retards. I'm sorry. I know that's an offensive word.
It's this video that Whitfield County resident Sean Holmes says was so hurtful.
And I'm not trying to talk down on people with Down syndrome, but that's what these people are.
Sean Holmes is a Republican and the proud father of 10-year-old Gavin.
He's my buddy. He's, you know, has changed me a lot.
Gavin has both autism and Down syndrome, so when the opportunity presented itself during a Whitfield County GOP meeting last night...
I'm also happy to answer some of your questions.
I just want a response from you for why you would say it. They call people retarded and say, well, no offense to people with Down syndrome, but, I mean, that's bull.
Just being a regular person, a lot of times I'll use slang words, and using that term...
that is not acceptable.
The confrontation continues, with Marjorie Taylor Greene saying she used the word as slang.
You can actually look it up in the dictionary. There is a definition that means stupid.
Oh, fucking hell, she's trying to double down. Oh, what the fuck? So, essentially, Marjorie Taylor Greene, as well as being racist, homophobic, transphobic, is ableism. Well, you know, we never say that, you know, bigots can't be intersectional. Yeah, I mean, she's just an awful, repugnant piece of shit. So, yeah, I was meant to mention this on Monday, and I didn't. I don't know why. But anyway, a leading Christian website has published a piece in which the writer says gay presidential hopeful Pete Buttigieg... Hold on. Oh. I thought it was just... Oh, fuck's sake. There's a... Sorry, no, forget that. Yeah, that's the first fuck up of the night. Yes, now this is up to date. Sorry, I thought that was said 2021, but it's from last year. But anyways, you know, I know that there has been some homophobia against Pete Buttigieg for when Biden appointed him transport secretary. You know, Ben Shapiro saying that he was the token gay in the cabinet, and well, then Ben Shapiro said the same thing about Rachel Levine being appointed assistant health secretary, saying she was the token trans. change the fucking record, will you, Ben? And no, they've been appointed because they get the job done. Particularly Rachel Levine. She has done a brilliant job as the medical officer in Pennsylvania in combating COVID-19. Anyways, Caitlyn Jenner wants you to know she will not run to be governor of California. Oh, what a relief. Okay, moving on. Okay, let's see what she has to say. All right. So Caitlyn Jenner will not be running to be the next governor of California. Jenner's manager has squashed the rumor that Jenner, likely the most famous transgender woman in America, is considering a run for office if Governor Gavin Newsom is recalled. Oh, are the Republicans trying to recall another Democrat the Republicans are trying to recall another... So let me begin that again. So the Republicans are trying to recall another Democrat governor. Well, yeah, they did that before. That's how Schwarzenegger ended up as governor. Remember? When was that? 2003, wasn't it? Yeah. So Caitlyn is not running for governor. Has never considered running for governor, and is very happy doing the work she is doing to promote LGBT rights and spending time with her 18 grandchildren and 10 children. Her manager Sophia Hutchins said. If Caitlyn Jenner did run for governor of California, it would be a fucking circus. What would it be? You know, rich LGBT people, yeah, they're cool. You know, poor LGBT people, oh, fuck them. Yeah, I mean that would be Jenner's fucking attitude. So good job. She's not running. Right, yeah. So I can't believe there's still gay. There are still gay and lesbian Republicans. It's just don't they get the message? They're not welcome. They're not welcome in the Republican Party. The Republican Party are the party of exclusion, particularly towards the LGBTQ community. I don't know. Sometimes I feel that some people who have right-wing leanings, some LGBTQ people, it's like they have a point to prove. Like, you know, look, I get accepted in right-wing circles. You know? Yeah, you might do. I always remember there was a trans woman I knew a few years ago called Rebecca Batty. And she was a member of UKIP, right? And she posted up a picture once on Facebook with Roger Hellman. I forgot the other guy in the picture. It was Paul Nuttall, wasn't it? Yeah, both known to be homophobic as shite. And she said, "Oh, well, they like me," and I go, "Yeah, that's because you're giving them fucking money. They'll love you for that." You know. So let's have a look at. So they put out a video. Oh God, they still call themselves the Log Cabin Republicans. I'm surprised. Seriously, I am surprised there still are Log Cabin Republicans. Released an awkward video to honour George Washington's birthday by praising former President Trump, the president who's done more damage to LGBT rights since, well, I guess Reagan, possibly. You know, so much progress has been made over particularly last 20 years. You know, well, actually, no, sorry. I'm just trying to think of stuff Clinton might have done. I can't remember. But obviously, well, we know that Bush Jr., W, you know, whatever you call him, you know, he weren't good for LGBT rights, was he? You know, the whole Defence of Marriage Act, which, by the way, Joe Biden voted for. And I get reminded of this by right-wingers all the time. Yeah, he might have voted for it then, but he is now pro-LGBTQ. That it's now which counts, okay? Not then. Anyways. Obviously, since really Obama's second term. So whatever progress there has been made, I'm getting in a bit of a tangle here. whatever fucking progress that had been made, particularly under the Obama administration, Trump just trashed, right? You know, and I've said this before on the stream. I went through with a Twitch streamer called Elanani Clark Trump's records on dismantling LGBT rights, taking away their legal protections, etc. We did this a couple of nights before the presidential election. And I could see parallels with Nazi Germany and the treatment of the Jews. Yeah, and so I would say any gay or lesbian Republican or any trans Republican or any bi, queer, whatever, who is still supporting the Republicans must have an awful lot of privilege or must be utterly fucking stupid or be suffering from cognitive fucking distancing. Anyway, so let's have a look at this video. I'm sure it is fucking cringe.
This President's Day, I'd like to thank Donald Trump.
President Trump, thank you for all you've done the past 4 years. Thank you for giving a voice to Americans who felt overlooked for so long.
Thank you.
Giving a voice to Americans who have been overlooked. Hold on, you're gay, dude. And, like, he doesn't...
President Trump, thank you for so many things, for putting America first, for passing the most comprehensive criminal justice.
He puts white, heteronormative, cisgendered men first, but everyone else is fucked.
Reform in a generation.
He exposed how incredibly corrupt the media is, how they are just flat out liars.
Thank you.
The liberal media, which tends to be pro-LGBTQ. Yeah, seriously, the media tends to be the most media, even like that. I mean, obviously, Newsmax and Fox News, but generally, when I've watched American news networks, they tend to be, at least with the language they use now, maybe not so much towards the trans community, but at least when it comes to lesbian gays, they are. So you're kicking the media who tends to be pro-lesbian and gay. Okay.
Thank you for standing up for our American ideals of family, freedom, and liberty.
He really opened my eyes to things that are very important to me. Things about free trade, things about free speech, things about censorship. I can't imagine any other president or political figure ever waking me up to things like he did. So I will forever be grateful to him for that.
Dear Mr. President, thank you for changing.
Oh, guess who it is? It's Ari Cascala. Yeah, I have to tell people about her. Right. There's a story later on. Oh no, there isn't actually. I haven't included it. Oh, never mind. Anyways, Ari Cascala is putting forward this conspiracy that lesbians are disappearing because they're all getting talked into coming out as trans men. This is bullshit, and it's suspiciously similar to the far-right xenophobic racist conspiracy about the Great Replacement, which is how lefties are wanting mass immigration to basically make white people a minority in Europe and North America. Yeah. So, yeah.
My view of the world and how people run it. For
Well, yeah, you're a bigot, Aria.
showing us that an outsider is sometimes the best person for the job.
He was a once-in-a-lifetime president because he wasn't a part of the political machine. He wasn't a part of Washington.
But most importantly, President Trump, as somebody that is a proud log-cabin Republican and member of Outspoken, thank you for being the first Republican president in American history to enter office as a supporter of marriage.
Right, let me explain. That was the law, okay? same-sex marriage was legal in America. But believe me, if Trump had got a second term, I could imagine that Congress had, been in Republican control. They were going to dismantle same-sex marriage. I mean, these guys are just coming out with utter fucking bullshit. I can't even watch any more of this. Yeah, talking of Republicans, so this is in the state of Iowa. They're proposing a bill that would ban schools and teachers from talking about transgender people. Essentially, this is a version of Section 28, which we'll be talking a bit about later on. For those who are unfamiliar with Section 28, it was a piece of legislation under the Thatcher government, the Thatcher Tory government, I should say, but basically banned local authorities and schools for promoting homosexuality. Promoting homosexuality. I mean, no one is. Here's the thing, right? Particularly the hard and far right, always seem to think that us, particularly us trans people, we're trying to brainwash people into thinking they're trans. No, not fucking at all. I will get to that in a minute. I've got another story, but promoting, the term promoting, it's like they're promoting the like the right always says like the homosexual lifestyle. They always say it with such scorn. There's no such fucking thing as the homosexual lifestyle. Gay men live lives just like the rest of us. I think they're talking about stuff like cruising. Well, hey, heterosexual people on a Saturday night down the nightclub. It's the same fucking thing. Fuck's sake. The bill proposed by 8 Republican lawmakers in Iowa would update elementary school curriculum standards in the state to say the curriculum provided to a student in accordance with the subsection shall now include instructions relating to gender identity. Hold on. Should now include, yeah, okay. The ban known as SF 167 says that teachers will need to get written permission from all students' parents first if they are to discuss gender identity in school. This is a bit like back in the day when they used to have to get that for sex education. They had to do that at my school. Here. Yeah, that's how long ago I was taught sex education. I don't know if that's still the case now. I doubt it. The bill doesn't block schools from talking about the concept of gender at all. Instead, it requires that educators not discuss the idea that there is a gender-related identity of a person, regardless of the person's assigned sex at birth. That is, that trans people exist. Yeah, you see, this is... And let me tell you something. When you don't educate people about trans, right, there's a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of hate, and, which results in violence. This is really stupid, right? I know why it's come about. It's because Biden's in the White House and he's very pro-trans, and I knew that Republican-controlled legislators would, basically create some sort of backlash towards that, and this is, part of that. Yeah, so the Republican governor thinks Joe Biden. So Republican governor, who's the governor of Mississippi, of all places, fun, thinks Joe Biden is pushing children to be trans. Seriously, This is this. I am so sick and tired of this bullshit. I really fucking am. Okay? Let me tell you something. No trans person brainwashes any other trans person into thinking they're trans. Okay? Just about every trans person I know will always say, person needs to decide themselves to come out as trans. Sure, I will certainly help people, but when they do come out as trans, as best as I can. But I will not tell someone to come out as trans. Okay, I will not do that. Okay, it has to be their decision. They have to make that decision themselves. Okay, and as I say, that generally is the consensus amongst the trans community. Okay. I don't know anybody who's going around trying to brainwash other people to think they're trans. Right? What we're trying to do is trying to give understanding, trying to educate people about being trans. We're not trying to encourage it. Though I will say the only thing I will encourage is that it is easier for people to come out as trans. Right? Because obviously, for some of us of a certain generation and of a certain age, yeah, it was a lot harder, okay? And I have to say, it was somewhat harder sometimes due to, shall we say, true scum rhetoric within the trans community, trying to hinder you from coming out. Let's just say I've had experience of that. So all this shit about brainwashing, what about true scummers? They're always going about to people, say you're not trans enough, you blah-de-blah-de-blah, this is a VIP club and you can't fucking join. That's hardly brainwashing people, is it? I don't get it. It's so he really does legitimately think that Biden is trying to brainwash people into thinking they're trans. Fuck off. Yes, Kevin, I see you. Ha! Fucking ha! Yes. You're going to spell penis again? Yeah? Yeah, you can always do something different and spell cunt. Well, it's got less letters, so it's easier. So just talking to the chat there. Right, okay, so if you think things are bad in the United States, so Education Secretary Gavin Williamson, Lord's student who called gays an abomination as he reveals free speech plan. Fucking hell. So he's encouraging, essentially he's encouraging anti-LGBTQ hate. The Tory fucking health secretary is encouraging fucking kids to bully other kids who are LGBTQ. That's fucking... Oh, God. It's out of fucking order. The damage that... Yeah, I know some people say, oh, God, you're being alarmist. No, I'm serious, right? A lot of kids... can be made to feel like utter shit because they're being bullied for being possibly LGBTQ. I was at school. The last school I was at, I was bullied relentlessly because they thought I was possibly gay. Turned out I was actually trans. I never told them that, funny enough, but they all suspected I was like, They just kept they just kept making really sort of derogatory and hateful stuff about various things, about me, like I had long hair. I think once I was seen with eyeliner on, and, someone saw me with eyeliner on and they told other people, and they just basically, for 2 bloody years, you can tell I still find it hard to talk about because it was a really sort of bad time. You know, so I've got experience with this. Education Secretary Gavin Williamson has cited a student who was punished for proclaiming that gay people are an abomination as his justification for creating the role of university free speech champion. All right, so being rude to suddenly you're a free speech warrior if you're being derisory and derogatory towards an LGBTQ person. Great, not. That's just repugnant. The Tory cabinet minister was accused of making a cynical dog whistle move to inflame a culture war on Tuesday as he announced plans to appoint government-mandated official to strengthen free speech and academic freedom at universities. The as yet unnamed official would have the power to investigate and impose sanctions, including financial penalties. Oh, right. So, you're not allowing students to be nasty to LGBTQ people. Here's a £1,000 fine. What the world is really... This is really fucked up. Well, it's like the other day I was, talking about that country and western guy who made racist comments, and his album sales have gone up since he made those comments. I mean, I remember the days when we used to campaign against racism, when we used to boycott, goods coming out of apartheid era South Africa. Now, people will go and buy goods for made by fucking produced by companies which promote racism, and now applaud others for basically being nasty fucking bullies towards oppressed minorities. I mean, it's really becoming really fucked up, and it's really frightening. This is the slippery slope to fascism, folks. I just plans also to extend student unions which come under hold on. The plans also extend to student unions which would come under pressure to ensure a lawful free speech is secured. Right. Smearing and bullying LGBTQ people is not freedom of speech. Okay? It's just fucking abuse. Okay? And, look, if people want to go and write books using, and where they can, use the F smear or the, other smears about LGBTQ people, the T smear, of course, for trans people, then fine. Okay. I'm not going to stop them because I don't have to read those books and no one else has to, right? The difference is, right, when someone is trying to study for in their education, the last thing they fucking need is someone getting on their case about what they are, right? No one needs that. No one needs that in the workplace. No one needs that in education. It's really out of fucking order that you have a fucking government minister fucking encouraging this. Oh yes, finally I saw somebody some other Jewish person, because this was actually posted on a Jewish group on Facebook which opposes Trump and the GOP. Someone else has thought the same thing I did when they heard about Marjorie Taylor Greene and the space lasers, which is Mel Brooks's Jews in Space, the sketch from History of the World Part 1. I was quite pleased to see that I wasn't the only person who suddenly thought of that. Jews in space, zooming around defending the Hebrew race. Yeah. I really wish I could just go show you that sketch, but I can't. I'd get copyright strikes. So, anyways, So, even before Brexit, well, actually, this was after Brexit, because technically Brexit happened not this January, but last January. We've been in a transitional period. But anyways, child poverty increases in England and across the North and the Midlands. In fact, actually, since the Tories came to power in 2010, child poverty has increased by 73%. Those were figures out in 2018. And, well, you think Brexit's going to make this any better? I mean, the economy is already fucked because of COVID. Brexit is just going to compound the fucking issue in the long term. You know, we're going to be far, far poorer because of Brexit. But whilst child poverty is exponentially increasing, billionaires like Jeff Bezos and others, their wealth is, well, the world's billionaires did extremely well during the coronavirus pandemic, growing their already huge fortunes to a record $10.2 trillion. I mean, Jeff Bezos is the richest man in the world. Dodges, and Amazon, of course, dodges paying tax here. Now, I know that the Rishi Sunak has basically hinted that in the budget, which of course is 2 weeks today, and of course I will do a show afterwards about it, that there could be an online sales tax, which of course would Amazon would be subjected to. Is that the right word? Well, anyway, so they'd have to fucking pay it, right? Because it's unfair on high street retailers. But I don't know if he will. I don't know if the Tories will go that far. I'm, pessimistic that they would. I mean, it is a good idea. I mean, I'd also think that there should be a tax on actually trading in the UK. Now, some people say there already is. It's corporation tax. Corporation tax is basically the corporate version of income tax. What we need is a tax, a bit like the market stall, right? So if you have a market stall, right, to get a lot for a market stall, you have to pay money, you have to pay rent. Now, some people say, well, they do this, via property taxes. Yes, to the local authority, but not to the central government, as far as I remember. And I kind of think, basically the UK government said, okay, if you want to trade here, well, you have to pay a tax, right, to trade, right? It's like a fee, I know some people say, well, that would discourage business from investing here. No, it wouldn't. We have, 67 million people living in this country? That's a massive market, right? And we're a first world country, well, for now. We are slowly sliding into becoming a banana republic, believe me. But, particularly with what I'm about to show you in a minute. Essentially, the amount of money they will gain from that access to that market would outweigh paying the tax, essentially. But it is disgusting, isn't it? While the very richest are profiting from COVID, the very poorest are suffering. Taxes on the rich really do need to go up. Enough is a fucking enough. But we have a Tory government in power who are in the pocket of the wealthiest. Okay, so I don't know if it's gonna. I doubt. That. The most sensible measure to combat all that. To basically get to pay for the whole COVID-19 and Brexit fuck up will be initiated. Right, yes, I was going to talk about we are sliding into a banana republic. So this is a report from the New York Times. You know, why is it that I have to get this stuff from the US media? You know, you have to ask questions about why hasn't this been picked up by British news media? Yeah, such. I mean, and there's been mutterings about corruption and cronyism with regards to Tories awarding contracts, but this is a pretty in-depth report, which I suggest people go and see. But so the bit I was going to highlight is this bit to shine a light on one of the greatest spending sprees in Britain's post-war era. The New York Times analysed a large segment of it, roughly 1,200 central government contracts that have been made public. This is for stuff like PPE and ventilators and stuff. Together, worth nearly 22 billion. Of that, about 11 billion went to companies either run by friends or associates of politicians in the Conservative Party. That is just pure fucking corruption. That's jobs for the fucking boys. That's the Tories looking after their fucking own. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as I said, there's been minors in the British press, but nothing as much of an expose as this. But you're not going to hear people on Newsnight talk about this, are you? You're not going to hear this mentioned on Politics Live, are you? I mean, yeah, as I said, you get the odd mutter about it, but, you know, nothing in depth. You know, the Tories are raking, friends of the Tories are raking it when you know, over 100,000 people have died. Doesn't that just make you fucking sick? Come on. Yeah? I know some people, Labour wouldn't be much better. Well, yeah, okay, the Blairite governments were just as fucking bad. I'm not going to deny that. But, you know, you're telling me that Jeremy Corbyn would be worse than this? Over 100,000 people dead. You know, no one knowing what fucking restrictions are in place in their fucking area. You know, and of course the Tories just want us to know about the vaccine. Oh, we've got 15 million people vaccinated. Where? I haven't had dick about a vaccine, and I have underlying health conditions. So, as I say, you know, government corruption. And here was a scene at a food bank in Glasgow. There was a queue. You know, look, food banks do great work. I'm not denying it. And in my time, I have had to go to a food bank on one occasion. But, you know, in a country as wealthy as ours, and I'd like to remind people, we are still the sixth, well, it bounces around between fifth and sixth, richest country in the world currently. You know, we, you know, have food banks. We shouldn't have to need to have food banks. Okay? You know, I just think it's fucking shameful that we can't, you know, feed the poorest in society. Yeah, I don't know what you Conservatives always say, yeah, but, you know, this is because they spend all their money on cigarettes and alcohol. No, not fucking at all. Yeah, that's just a lie propagated by, you know, right-wing entities who just don't like paying tax, who don't like the idea of there being a welfare state, right? And let me tell you something, right? If the Tories got rid of the welfare state, do you know what would happen? Fucking riots. You know, I always point out, when you have a huge gap between rich and poor, there is civil unrest. This happened during the French Revolution, when 9/10 of the population lived in abject poverty, and, you know, very small minority of people lived in absolute opulence. Yeah, that's how you have the storming of the Bastille. You know, basically, the welfare state the conservative people really should warm to the idea of a welfare state, because it actually keeps people from basically knocking down their fucking door, and doing all sorts to them because they're starving. Okay? So, this is a fucking embarrassment. Okay, and this picture has obviously gone viral. And this is before, shall I say, the full effects of Brexit kick in. Okay, and believe me, here's just one statistic which is absolutely frightening. So, Britain's largest trading partner is Europe, the EU, and well, exports to the EU have decreased by 68%. Yes, 68%. Now I know what Brexiteers are going to go. It was COVID, didn't it? It's COVID. People still need shit during COVID. Yeah. They still need products. They still need various services. Yeah. So this is the jobs will go because of this, right? I've said it before. Brexiteers. Tell me how great Brexit is when you lose your fucking job. Okay. Having said that, so many people voted for Brexit because basically they were fucking racist. I don't care what anyone else says. Brexit was motivated by fucking racism. They wanted to give the finger to the EU. They wanted to give Johnny Foreigner one, didn't they? Yeah. They didn't give, they didn't realise the economic impact. They lived in a la fucking land, and they were lied to by people like Nigel Farage, who we'll be getting onto in a minute. Yeah. And also, please remember, right, because I know what's going to happen, right? When, the economy, it doesn't bounce back as the Tories like to think it's going to. When Brexit starts, making this country far poorer and the economic growth is fuck all, right? Please can you remember that it was Nigel Farage who caused this, not disabled people in receipt of welfare, because I know what's going to happen, right? But the Farages of this world are going to blame, the most vulnerable in society, right? For basically lying to people, which he did, because he's a racist demigod. And anyways, the other new economic news is this. So Amsterdam has overtaken London as Europe's top share trading centre. Yes, of course, and London has been the financial capital for the best part of 15 years now. Not any longer, though. I know there probably are some people on the left who are probably going, well, financial services fucking off to Europe. Good. Considering, the chaos they caused with the banking crisis. Yeah, I can understand that. But here's the thing, right? So, banks up sticks and go to Europe, right? There is a knock-on effect. There will be cleaning companies who will have contracts to clean the offices of those banks, right? So that means they're going to get less work, which means they're going to have to employ less people, right? So people will be put out of work. Now, of course, I realise that cleaners get paid shit wages and shouldn't. I would definitely agree with that. But what I'm trying to say to you is, when the banks up sticks and go, there is a knock-on effect on other, businesses, and people need to remember that. So, this isn't good, and yet The Tories, you know, are still trying to press ahead with their festival of Brexit. Though they have rebranded it as Festival UK 2022. So fuck 2022. Yes, I'm not the only one to have noticed that. I mean, this is the Festival of Gammon, isn't it? I mean, here's the thing. The Tories have got 120 million to spend on this fucking festival, yet they've cut anti-bullying initiatives in schools. They claim they don't have enough money to give poor kids in schools school meals. You know, bloody. But 120 for Gammon to have a piss up. Fuck. You know, this is of course I know. So yeah, but it encourage. Basically, these kind of events encourage, you know, diplomacy and trade with blah 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 blah. Okay, if trade wants to encourage trade, then trade should pay for, you know, encouraging trade. That's what I'm going to say. You know, large corporations, if they want to have a festival, if they want to have a trade festival, let them. You know, good. You know. Believe me, this country's going to fucking need it. But I mean, I can't celebrate Brexit. Fuck off. You know, people being racist and making this country far poorer because they're racist. I mean, it just you know. Anyways, I do actually a schedule of the kind of events to expect at the Festival of Brexit, which is basically Festival of Racist Gammon, has been leaked to the media. Believe it or not, they've already got a schedule and an itinerary, as Americans say, of what will be happening. Here's the timetable. 8 o'clock, arrive, drink tea and coffee. 8:30, blame better tea and coffee on immigrants. 9 o'clock, meet other middle class white people. 9:30, sing Land and Glory. Land of Hope and Glory, with our cocks out. 10 o'clock, Nigel Farage arrives, gurning like a prick. 10:30, talk about the EU, but don't understand how it works. 11 o'clock, watch Susan Evans swallow a homeless man alive. Actually, I would love to. That would be fun to watch. I mean, she's such a Tory toff that she probably would. 11:30, drink champagne and laugh about poor people. Noon, talk about the threat of women breastfeeding. 12:30, Katie Hopkins kicks a swan to death. 1 o'clock, Nigel Farage bangs Thatcher Mount. You kind of think that he probably has wiped off the pictures of Margaret Thatcher in his time, don't you? 1:30, blame late lunch on the gays. 2 o'clock, discuss migrants, talk about living in Spain. Yeah, isn't it funny how all these supposed patriots, you know, all running away from Britain in some manner. You know, whether it's hiding their money offshore or actually upping sticks and going to live in Portugal or Spain. Yeah, weird that. I thought they were all for Brexit. 2:30, Paul Nuttall screams at a foreign horse. 3 o'clock, drink ale and stick fingers up our arses. 3:30, blame young people for all our problems. 4 o'clock, more champagne, more laughing at the poor. 4:30, blame house prices on Muslims. 5 o'clock, wanking to copies of the Daily Express and leave. Okay, well, they haven't scheduled blaming the Jews, but I'm sure that they'd find time for that as well, you know, because, you know, believe me, Farage is, you know, as well as being Islamophobic, he's also anti-Semitic. I probably didn't read that with enough humorous vigour, did I? Well, you know, you can go and check my Twitter feed and have a laugh at it yourself. But, you know, that pretty much would sum up that would probably be an ideal schedule for the festival of Brexit. Yes, so Farage has made a bit of a twat of himself today on Twitter. He posted a video saying, scrap the EU Human Rights Act. There's no such thing. We've left the EU. As pointed out here, 1. There is no Human Rights Act. 2. There is a UK Human Rights Act. 3. The Act was based on the European Court of Human Rights, the European Court of Human Rights. Actually, I think they meant the European Declaration of Human Rights, actually. But anyways, basically, there is no such thing as the EU Human Rights Act. But of course, Farage, being the fascist twerp he is, doesn't want people to actually, you know, have human rights. You know, well, certainly doesn't want blacks or the gays to have the same rights as white people. Yeah. Funny thing is, I've noticed, you know, the coincidence. This is more than a coincidence. We're going to get onto this. That there has been a rise in hate towards whether it be racist hate or anti-LGBT hate, since Farage has had a greater platform. You know, basically, you know, ever since the likes of the BBC gave him a platform, you know, kept platforming him, and you remember the days. I mean, it's a little bit better now, but you remember the days when he was on fucking Question Time every other fucking week. Yeah, ever since he got a larger platform, you know, hate has gone up in this country. Recorded, you know. So, yeah, just watch this. Oh, this is from the BBC.
Homophobic shouting. There was like a crack in my back.
How many times has it happened now?
4 or 5 times now, over the past 3 years. I've just thought it was a way of life. It shouldn't have to be like that. I shouldn't be scared to walk down the street.
I grew up in the 80s, 90s. I thought it would have been worse then, but it wasn't. It wasn't.
Many people would think that the UK is a great place to be lesbian, gay or bisexual in 2020. However, I've been investigating homophobic hate crimes across the UK, and I've discovered that reports have nearly tripled in 5 years, with a 20% increase since last year. Whilst police say this...
Yeah, just as Farage got a larger and larger media platform, you know, with his own, you know, of course I forgot to mention he also had his own show on LBC, didn't he? As well as appearing on Question Time every other fucking week. You know, hate crime has gone up, you know, I do find that more than a coincidence. And now he's whipping, you know, someone else said, I saw someone else on Twitter say, well, Farage is basically now whipping up hate about a non-existent fucking EU Human Rights Act. He would just whip up hate no matter what. And before people say, no, this is just a consequence of people, LGBTQ people being more willing to report hate crimes to the police. Yeah, right. As basically the inference being that, you know, it was far worse in the 80s, but most of those crimes went unreported. That's true, but, you know, it's no fucking excuse for there to be hate crime in the fucking first place towards LGBTQ people or any other fucking oppressed minority or marginalised minority.
This is partly better reporting. LGBT charities have seen a real increase in attacks against gay and bi people. For 21-year-old Charlie, hate crime is just a part of life.
These are the jeans I got jumped in, actually.
The what?
These are the jeans I got jumped in.
So these are your attack jeans?
Yes.
Oh, Charlie. Just a few months ago, Charlie was left beaten and bloodied after a homophobic attack. The police are still looking for Charlie's attackers. What is it like being back here, seeing this, talking about it?
It's not nice.
How did it make you feel that you can't be yourself without being attacked?
It's heartbreaking, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because this person.
Why should anyone be attacked for what they are? Yeah. All I want to be able to do is get through my life, in peace, and and not be constantly hindered and harassed for being trans. That's all I want, right? And that's what any member of the LGBTQ community essentially wants, Talking of people who whip up hate towards the trans community, yes, this is the latest story about Joanna, otherwise known as J.K. Rowling. Her anti-trans rhetoric, J.K. Rowling and anti-trans rhetoric have caused significant damage to the UK International LGBTQ report warns. Now, okay, I would imagine you don't need a report to know this, but the thing is, you have to compile research because you always go to people, go proof. What proof do you have to back this up? Well, we've got a fucking report here, and a report about the report. And an international LGBT plus rights review has warned the UK is facing significant damage because of transphobic hate speech and J.K. Rowling. Right, okay. What? I just think that's phrased funny. It's like, J.K. Rowling is like, it's like there's transphobic hate speech and then there's J.K. Rowling. She's far worse than anything any other well, I guess she is because she has a far bigger platform. And all this shit about, she's been cancelled. She never fucking shuts up. How is she cancelled? We keep hearing from her. British leaders previously boasted the UK's top ranking in the ILGA Europe's Equality Index, but the country tumbled significantly in recent years as others leap ahead, while the UK struggles to implement basic reforms on gender recognition and conversion therapy. Well, yeah, ever since Boris became Prime Minister. This year's report, published on Tuesday, the 16th of February, now shows the UK logged in 10th place, behind top-ranked Malta, Belgium and Luxembourg, as well as Norway, France, Denmark, Spain, Portugal and Finland. Significantly, the report notes that the rise of anti-trans voices in UK society and the damage they have caused to progress on equality. Damn right. I mean, look, TERFs have the ear of the Tory fucking government. Boris doesn't give a shit. No, neither does fucking Keir Starmer. More about Keir later. It's just... It is really depressing. I mean, considering that the LGBTQ community had a very lucky escape from, Trump, from Trump being re-elected. They've had a lucky escape. So, getting in a bit of a tangle there. So, the LGBTQ community have had a very lucky escape in America. And now they're just turning around and going, the UK's turf island. Truth is, they're right. If Notes anti-trans rhetoric continues to cause serious damage in the UK, again this year, a prime example is the repeated transphobic attacks by author J.K. Rowling on Twitter. In her writing, J.K. Rowling has repeatedly denied allegations she is transphobic. Yeah, well, here's the thing. Racists deny they're racist, right? So obviously she's going to. And there are, unfortunately, useful tools who will defend her. Eddie Izzard. The report continues, her statements have been harshly criticised by trans people activists and writers. A growing number of celebrities, including from the Harry Potter films, Daniel Radcliffe's called her out, have spoken out in support of trans communities. Some trans people expressed their wish to leave the UK. I know some who have, because of the growing hate. The report warns that in some parts of the UK, hate crimes have been steadily increasing, in part due to an increase in reporting. Yeah, as I said, that is a factor, but it's it's no excuse to diminish that there is substantial hate crime. Okay, in other words, as I said, people go, it's far worse than the 80s. Just that those crimes didn't go reported, as if it's an excuse that we have hate crime now. No. Say no to hate crime. No tolerance to hate crime. But also influenced by increasing hostility in the UK-wide media towards trans celebrities and communities. The ILGA Europe also cites extreme concern over the High Court ruling on the Kira Bell case. Yeah, because judges are so well medically equipped to make a judgment on whether trans youth should have puberty blockers, aren't they? It's nothing but bad fucking news, is it, for trans people at the fucking moment in this fucking country? I mean, some people still ask me, well, Soph, you're entitled to Israeli citizenship, why not? They seem to be more progressive on trans issues. Yeah, but I prefer living here. This is a country I actually love, and I want to stay here. I will only go to this country if I actually think my life is an absolute threat from the government. So, and let's hope we don't get to that stage. Yeah, so Labour MP Luke Pollard has had a deluge of homophobic abuse for showing a Valentine's Day photo. What is the matter with some people? As this says, this is a beautiful picture of a couple clearly in love. Those who bemoan the perceived age gap here, but don't do so when it comes to the PM and his female partner. Well, yeah. I mean, I forgot what the age difference. Oh, it says here there's a 24-year age difference between the PM and his current girlfriend. Oh, so were they making out that Luke was having sex with an underage person or something? Because that's fucking out of order. And that's a really old homophobic trope, which is just utter bullshit, right? So Labour MP Luke Pollard is facing homophobic trolling on social media after posting a photo of himself and his boyfriend to mark Valentine's Day. Luke Pollard, an openly gay MP for Plymouth, Sutton and Devonport, took to social media on Sunday to post a selfie with his partner. He wrote, "Happy Valentine's Day to my beautiful, lovely boyfriend." It's really nice that he's able to possibly spend Valentine's Day with his boyfriend. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to spend Valentine's Day with my fiancée, though we did do a stream together, which was on her Twitch channel. The post attracted dozens of homophobic responses from far-right trolls. There's a surprise. Not. Focused on the apparent age gap between Pollard, 40, well, he's younger than me, and his boyfriend, who appears to be in his mid to late 20s. Right, okay, so they weren't. Well, or were they? I don't know. I didn't see the actual abuse they got, but this is the kind of shit the far right pull. As well as as I was talking about the farmyard animal thing the other night, that gay men, the old one about gay men that just don't want to have sex with other gay men. They want to have sex with farm animals. That's a really old homophobic trope as well, which is bullshit. We're back here, are we? That all gay men are fucking predators. Is that it? No, it's bullshit. Absolute bullshit. I mean, look, another Labour MP, Wes Streeting, right? I don't share Wes Streeting's political, he's on the right of the Labour Party. But I've met him, and he's a really nice, on a personal level, I got on with him. He's a decent bloke who used to work for Stonewall, by the way. So, these people are like a lot of gay men, particularly, I've met, are very kind and gentle, and believe me, they're always really snappy dressers as well. I know that's a trope, but it's true that a lot of them are. They take care of themselves, and that's a good thing, One comment branded Pollard a dirty Labour nonce. Yeah, you see, they are. That is the kind of inference that his partner's underage or some bullshit, which isn't true. Absolutely. While another read, he looks 12 years old. You should be locked. Yeah. So, as I say, I kind of thought that might be the deal, and I was right. And it's just bullshit. It's horrible. And he was celebrating his love. Can we celebrate love a bit more? I mean, the far right only seem to get off on hate, don't they? It's always weird with the far right. They're military anti-military intervention, right? Yet who worships the military more than the far right? Yeah. So I should elaborate. Anti-military intervention, as in they don't support, military action in foreign countries. Which is always a bit of a problem when we go to anti-war demos, because the far right will always turn up. Okay, well, in some ways I kind of obviously they're isolationists. Yet all this, we don't want our boys to go to foreign lands, blah de blah de blah. Yet they worship the military like no other, quarter of the political spectrum. Yeah. So yeah, some turf took Twitter to court about getting banned and lost. Ha 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 ha. All right. Hey, well, yeah, but so what? Hey, well, if you can't go to if you can't, tweet, transphobic shite on Twitter, then you could always do so on Parler, because Parler's back up. Though I found out the other day, Lynn Wood, Trump's, was he actually officially Trump's lawyer? But he's certainly someone who goes on about the voter fraud, conspiracy theories a lot. I think he's been named on the suit Dominion have brought against people who've been peddling the conspiracy that they rigged the presidential elections. Anyways, Lynn Wood, as I said, I found out Lynn Wood's actually banned from Parler. Yet Parler says they're free speech. Typical far right. They're pro free speech they like, because the other thing is lefties can't get onto Parler. I do know some who are there incognito. In other words, it's that they have accounts just to keep an eye on what the far right is saying, right? There's basically to get to get an account with Parler, I think you have to give quite a lot of personal ID, a lot of personal info away, not the normal, just name, email, and password. There's some other process you have to go through, and all these people on Parler, they're saying about moaning about big tech acting like Big Brother. Yeah, well, Parler fucking does more than any other fucking social media platform that I know of. Well, Parler's back up. Well, I guess Nazis have got to have a place to offload. Yeah, I'm sure Katie Hopkins will be doing. Well, I don't know what's the equivalent on. I actually don't know what the equivalent to tweeting on Parler is. Sorry, just had to have a drink now. Should have said I was going to take a drink. Didn't want anyone gone quiet. I'm fucking off. No, I'm still here. Right. Okay. Onwards. Right. So, Munroe Bergdorf, who's a trans activist, has basically closed her Twitter account and has said that Twitter isn't safe. Though continuous bullying has affected me in my life at periods where basically I wasn't able to escape it. When it comes to things like Twitter, I think I'm better able to deal with it because A, there's a thing called the block button, which I'm perfectly willing to use. And B, when I think about it, I haven't just had shit for being trans. I've had shit for being disabled since I was born because my family, well, they hated me for being disabled. And then, there was obviously stuff in my childhood. I remember one time I was at a bus stop. I got spat on and called the S slur. There was another time I got beaten up in a changing room at summer camp. And when the supposed approved adult came in to check on us, basically the other kid said I'd slipped. It was a swimming pool changing room. And it was made very clear that I was beaten up because I was disabled. But anyways, so trans activist Munroe Bergdorf has deleted her Twitter account, claiming the app is not safe for transgender people. I would say for particularly young transgender people, I would definitely say that. The campaigner and activist who lives in London announced her departure from social media, the social media app on Friday, where she shared a statement on Instagram about alleged abuse she's experienced on a daily basis. Yeah, she gets a lot of abuse. So here's a statement. Deleted my Twitter account, and I checked. She actually has. This isn't some Caitlin Bennett type situation. Caitlin Bennett said, "I'm leaving YouTube," when she actually fucking hasn't. You get these people who do this sort of stuff, but no, she has actually closed her Twitter account, and that could actually be detrimental for Munroe and her modelling contracts and stuff and being able to promote stuff. Though obviously the companies who hire her will obviously tweet out that they hired her and whatever else. But anyways, no one should have to endure even a fraction of the abuse that I'm exposed to and have to put up with on a daily basis. No one should actually have to. I'm actually there's a video, an interview she did with Owen Jones about one particular incident we'll get to. If you can design algorithms to identify COVID-19 vaccine misinformation, then you can combat transphobia. Yeah, is it funny how when the government intervenes, right, that shit gets done? That's a sign that government can actually do some good, but they should do more good and basically get the social media platforms to seriously crack down on things like transphobia and racism. Sure, Twitter has at least said it was going to combat transphobia, and sure, it has banned some TERFs. I will grant it that. But you go on a YouTube, yeah, fat chance. It's clearly a matter of won't rather than can't. That's true. Tired of being a punching bag. Twitter is not a safe app for transgender people. Well, my suggestion is that Twitter needs transgender people, just as YouTube needs transgender people. And the way to deal with it is mute and block, right? I mean, sure, you shouldn't have to even do that, but, you shouldn't have to put up with abuse, period. But unfortunately, there's always going to be, unfortunately, in this time, yeah, it comes with the fucking territory, unfortunately. Now, to clear my bias, I've actually met Munroe. And as you can see from this tweet, I make a reference to Rose of Dawn. Who's a right-wing, well, far-right, actually, YouTuber, who's trans. And she put out this video essentially shitting on Munroe Bergdorf. Now, this is not the first time in one of my streams I've mentioned Rose of Dawn, and I am sure that she might eventually produce a video about me being a supposed pillar of the community. Basically, she's been sarky in that title. You have to go back and watch the video series, but I am no pillar of the trans community. There's plenty of trans people who who do not like the way I carry on. In fact, there are trans people who wish I'd shut up completely, despite let's say that I have been made to feel unwelcome in activist circles, despite the fact it's quite evident that I am relatively articulate, and I want to do my bit for the trans community. I've not been welcome, and well, it's primarily for the same reason that Rose of Dawn doesn't like Rose of Dawn doesn't like Munroe Bergdorf. I've watched this video. I have watched it. It's pretty fucking offensive. One reason is Rose of Dawn shows a photo of Munroe Bergdorf before they transitioned. That for another trans person to do that to another trans person is just low, right? But the thing is, obviously, in the past, Munroe Bergdorf has caused controversy for calling out racism. Yeah, well, Rose of Dawn certainly doesn't like that because Rose of Dawn's a racist, and really, the real reason she doesn't like Munroe Bergdorf is because Munroe Bergdorf is black, right? And supports things like Black Lives Matter. Yeah, she goes on and on about Munroe getting sacked from L'Oreal for saying every white person's a racist. What she neglects to mention, actually, the video might have been put out before this actually occurred, but L'Oreal apologised and rehired Munroe. And the truth is, many white people are racist and don't, realise it. They just don't. Right? But, yeah, I mean, why should we be surprised that a far-right, trans woman, would be dumping on Munroe Bergdorf. I mean, the other thing is, in this video, she hilariously describes Munroe as a professional trans woman. It's a derogatory term, meaning that there are trans women who carve out a media career by talking a lot about being trans. And well, Rose, what the fuck are you? Because all your videos are about LGBTQ and specifically trans stuff, aren't they? I mean, there's one video on your channel about how everyone's being alarmist about COVID-19. Oh, surprise, surprise, that Rose of Dawn would be a COVID-19 skeptic. Ah, jeez. Aren't I surprised? Not. Anyways, we are going to watch a video Owen Jones put out where he had a chat with Munroe. This is when Munroe was involved with the NSPCC's Childline and promoting that children who are feeling very depressed and suicidal about being LGBTQ could ring in. What happened was, well, basically TERFs got removed. So let's have a look at some of this. I don't know if I'll play it all, but
Great to see you.
How you doing?
I'm alright, how are you?
It's pretty nasty out there, isn't it?
Yeah.
In every sense. I meant the weather, but perhaps a metaphor for...
Unfortunately.
Before I ask about some of the negative, terrible negative experiences you've had, you've obviously become a bit of a phenomenon, I think it's fair to say. You're one of the most high-profile, visible trans people in Britain. What's that been like as an experience? I mean, do you often have people who are young and trans and coming to talk to you about what that means to have you out there?
Oh my God, 100%. And like, it's amazing because I feel in some way I've been able to contribute to the sense of community, and people, especially trans teens, can see themselves in me and can think, okay, you know what, I can do whatever I put my mind to.
I thought the same thing with Caroline Cosy back in the day. Caroline was a hero of mine. So yeah, it's important that we do have trans representation in the media. It really is.
Because I sincerely think that we can if we all pull together and pull each other up. But also being exposed to the vitriol and the pushback and the backlash that constantly comes with every single thing that I do. If I've got a seat at the table in an influential position, people will literally campaign against me until I'm forced to either leave or forced out and sacked or dropped. And I just find it a great shame, because if you are going to be employing trans people, and if you say that you want to help the community progress, then you need to be prepared for the backlash that you will get by employing trans people.
Isn't it really sad that there's a backlash to basically trans people saying, well, we want to be treated like the rest of society. We want the same rights as everyone else. Yeah, it's really fucking sad. It's a sad indictment of the society we currently live in. It really is.
Same with when, back in the day when a gay person would be employed with a company, that company need to be prepared for the backlash and the shaming and the...
Yeah, I remember in the 80s there was endless fucking tabloid stories, not just in The Sun and the Daily Mail, but also sadly in the Mirror, about how, gay teachers were potential predators on young, impressionable male students. I remember those fucking stories. Back in the 80s. Now we're getting it about trans people. That we all want to fucking brainwash kids into thinking they're trans. Which is just utter fucking bullshit.
Negativity that comes with standing behind homosexual people. Like, it's exactly the same. I don't think that you can take the good bits without being prepared to stand up against the bad bits.
So before the most recent of events, could you give us a kind of flavour, some examples, if you like, of some of the harassment you've had to go through? What impact that has?
I mean, the general consensus amongst these people are that I'm a danger or a threat to children, that essentially trans people are recruiting kids to become trans, that I am a bad role model, that I feel really upset. Like, I don't know, just like equating, like just sexualizing things. Like, I will not be seen in the same way as a cisgender woman doing exactly the same thing as me. The fact that with this situation, I've been targeted and sexualized beyond my own sexualization. They've made it seem like I'm some sort of sexual deviant, that I've transitioned.
Oh God, this is one of the oldest transphobic tropes, that we're all sexual deviants, that we're cross-dressers and just fetishists. I certainly, if people do have fetishes which don't, harm anyone else, so what? But that's not what being, trans is to me. That's not a fetish. Me and Munroe, it's just we're women who want to live our lives as women, like any ordinary woman.
To fulfill a sexual fantasy, and equating children within that is probably one of the lowest things that you can do as a human being. To say that I'm a sexual deviant and I shouldn't be allowed near children is disgusting.
I mean, it strikes me there's a very profound echo here of Section 28 which was introduced, the last piece of homophobic legislation introduced in Britain at the end of the 80s by Thatcher's government. And in practice, it was all about, they're basically gay people, they're trying to recruit children, it's a subversive, they're deviants, they're trying to, brainwash kids, they're trying to prey on kids. I mean, it's the same old tune.
It's exactly the same thing. And because, it seems that transphobia, people can't wrap their head around it. They're like, oh, but, it's a legitimate opinion or it's freedom of speech.
So, do people think that the Ku Klux Klan have a legitimate opinion to promote white supremacy and that blacks and Jews should be treated as second-class citizens? Well, essentially, TERFs and transphobes, they preach cis supremacy and that trans and non-binary people should be treated as second-class citizens. It's the same deal. If the BBC aren't going to platform the fucking Ku Klux Klan unless there's like a documentary about hate in America, which obviously there are occasionally on BBC and Channel 4, then why should, in any serious sort of platform, such as Newsnight or Politics Live or The Mar Show or various other Channel 4 News, should they give a platform to people who are essentially preaching the equivalent to what the Ku Klux Klan preach? Have a think about that.
Or freedom of speech,
and also take TERFs and transphobes seriously, because I always say, if there has been incidences where I think, particularly Newsnight, I've had Tommy Robinson on Newsnight, but they really weighed in, with someone like Tommy Robinson, right, about being a racist football thug. Yet when I've seen TERFs on the show, right, more often than not, shall we say, the interviewer does not go in as hard. And they really should. Because, as I've said, TERFs preach the same bullshit as the Ku Klux Klan, just about sex and gender.
Is not the same as abusing your freedom of speech. You can't equate people to, sexual predators, a whole blanket demographic group of people. Like, that's wild. Of course there's going to be predators within every single section of society, but that's got nothing to do with the fact that we're trans. It's almost like free reign at the moment. It's like being trans in this country is like being a second-class citizen. Time after
It is. It fucking well is. Just one little thing, and I keep mentioning this. A cisgendered person doesn't have to validate their fucking gender. As a trans woman, I have to. Why?
Time, we're just seeing trans people harassed in defamation campaigns. Every single time that I do a public speaking gig, they will turn up and they will ask me questions that are highly, highly, highly transphobic. And very vulnerable trans people come to my talks to feel empowered, to feel safe, to feel like, they can see someone who's been through what they've gone through and come out the other side.
Yeah.
And
Munroe is trying to do positive for the trans community. What the fuck has Rosa Dawn, who has at least produced 2 videos I know of, shitting on Munroe Bergdorf, right, ever done for the fucking trans community? Nothing. She just throws trans people like Munroe Bergdorf, who are trying to do something constructive, under the fucking bus. I have to ask Rose again. Which Koch brother did you suck off to get a leg up? The one who's still alive or the one who's dead?
They're endangering those people, the emotional well-being of those people.
You appointed Childline's first LGBTQ campaigner.
Yes.
How did that feel when you were given that role, and what did you want to do with that role? What did it mean to you in terms of how you'd go about it?
First of all, I was like really proud of myself and like proud of my community and the fact that institution as iconic as Childline. I mean, we all grew up with Childline. I thought, okay, well, this is progress. This is amazing. I'm going to be able to reach so many kids with this. I'm going to, let them know that they're not alone. That is the only thing that I wanted to do. I'm not looking to change any kids. I'm not looking to influence any kids. I'm there to let kids, I was there to let kids know that this is a service that they can contact should they need it. That was my role. And I called my mum. My mum was so proud of me. That's been the most heartbreaking thing out of all of this is my parents seeing what's happening and they can't understand it for the life of them. They're just like, this is bad.
Can you explain the sequence of events then? What happened?
Well, I mean, when it was announced, I could see like some kickback from the usual suspects on Twitter, and I was like, okay, well, I better call Childline and let them know that, they may be getting some pushback and just prepare them. They were like, nope, don't worry. We knew exactly what we were getting in for, asking you to come on board. And I was like, okay, great. And then I slept through the night, and then I woke up and NSPCC had released a statement saying that they can't stand behind any statements made by any celebrities that are involved with their charity, and I will no longer be working with them, but not actually stating a reason why. Then I noticed that there was some trolling from a journalist called Janice Turner, who writes for The Times, and then I saw that she was calling me a porn model, and I've never done porn in my life. Nude shoots, yes, for fashion magazines, and a shoot for Playboy in which I spoke about my battles with self-harm, with growing up and having bad body image. So I used the platform as an empowering moment. And I was like, but wait a minute, Abby Clancy and Melinda Messenger have both done shoots in the same way and of the same vein. And also, the shoot that I did...
cis-normative hypocrisy. Cis women can do it, but not trans women, because when cis women do it, it's not deviant, it's not perverted, but when trans people do it, it's deviant, it's perverted, it's porn. See how we're being treated here?
Did do for Playboy is nothing worse than anything that Lady Gaga or Beyonce or Britney or any pop star has done.
No, I say, by the way, you looked. I thought those pictures were stunning.
Oh, I mean, I'm really happy with them.
Yeah, that was not porn by any definition. I've seen more explicit pictures in Paris advertising perfume on billboards.
I mean, you could. I mean, it was a silhouette.
Yeah, it was literally. I mean, it was very tastefully done. It's quite artistic.
Yeah.
If people look at them, they will see how absurd that is. I mean, the NSPCC, who operate the Childline helpline, they've adopted the pride flag. What are we supposed to make now of their role as a potential ally of struggling young LGBTQ people, particularly struggling trans people, who are amongst those who need their help the most? What are we supposed to conclude? I mean, they're using our community's flag.
I don't think it's that simple. I think the problem is a disconnect between management and the people on the ground that are doing great work with Childline. And I really want to stress that the people that I worked with at Childline are doing an incredible job, and I'm going to urge people not to cancel their direct debits out of outrage, because that just hurts the kids that do contact Childline. So do not. And if you have cancelled...
See, she cares. She genuinely cares. I know somebody, it's false, she's acting. No, for us trans people, we do genuinely care about the plight of young trans people. We really do. Right? Because we've all been there. And maybe it's time people like Blair White and Rose of Dawn and India Willoughby all fucking remember what it's like to grow up with gender dysphoria. Because I can tell, from my experience, it was fucking horrid.
cancelled your direct debit, then reinstate it. But the people that made this decision are not, you know, on the ground, and they're largely very conservative, very traditional. They just want to remove trans people from having a seat at the table, from having any form of influence. You know, I've been hounded or forced to leave or sacked from every single position of influence. It's happened before. I can't do this every 5 months. And people need to start realizing what's happening to me and what's been happening for years, because this is not my first scandal. And it's the same people doing it time and time again. And I'm tired, and my community's tired, because I'm not the only one going through it. Every single time one of my peers does a speaking gig at a women's festival, or, you know, an empowering, a momentous occasion, they are picketed, they are hounded and harassed consistently on social media.
Those who call themselves feminists who are hounding you, I'm just trying to work out where...
Let me just say, TERFs are not feminists. I mean, I'll give you one example here. They just use feminism as a front for bigotry, essentially. You know, I know, and it's not, people seem to think that all radical feminists are TERFs. No. Angela Keaton was a radical feminist I knew who was a trans ally. I don't know, there are others. I mean, Angela was very well aware of the trans involvement in LGBTQ rights. Anyways, the whole civil rights movement, sorry. Sorry, just lost my train of thought there. The thing with TERFs, I remember when Amy Coney Barrett was appointed to the US Supreme Court, and my comment was, where are all the TERFs protesting her? Because this is basically, Amy Coney Barrett, she had her way, would take away the right of a woman to choose whether to have an abortion. If you read the stuff she, you know, her conservative positions, you know, she'd gladly have the US turn into fucking Gilead. Yeah, I heard no TERF, you know, protest, you know, her appointment to the US Supreme Court. And, well, there was a reason possibly for that, I have to say. It's because, of course, Amy Coney Barrett is transphobic. And so TERFs are prepared to get into bed with the far right, basically because they hate trans people just as much as they do, right? Even though the far right are misogynistic as fuck, right? So it's basically the same deal as, say, Blair White and others, you know, sliming up to the far right, thinking they're the good trans, you know, and basically, you know, the far right won't turn on them for you know, conforming, you know. Oh yes, they will. Oh yes, they will. When you know, the likes of Blair White are the surplus to requirements, they will throw them under the bus. Yeah. You know, if the far right ever got a foothold in power, you know, the likes of India Willoughby would be shoved on the cattle trucks along with me and sent off to the gas ovens.
Throwing a black woman under a bus comes under feminism.
This is a return to traditional values, that there are two genders, that homosexuality is a sin, that, you know, LGBT queer people are a danger to children.
All of which the LGBT Alliance advocates.
What's the impact been on your mental health of all of this?
I'm very vocal about my mental health. You know, I suffer from depression. It does make me worried about the long-term effects of going through this every 5 months and having to, you know, be a pillar of strength. And, you know, I do think about, you know, what about when I'm older and all of this catches up with me? Like, what do I do? I'm kind of worried, like, for my safety as well. Like, where do these people stop? My parents are worried about me. I'm worried, like, about the fact that no one seems to be challenging this, the fact that it seems okay to be, abusing trans people consistently. I mean, I get a lot of support because I'm more high profile, but this is not the case for the majority of trans people.
A good point she made. Yeah. Majority of trans people don't have the profile she or Paris Leeds has. Yeah. And, yeah. I mean, for it's more likely she will actually receive more abuse for being high profile. I mean, as we've already covered, she's left Twitter. But, those trans people like myself who are known, we don't get that, basically, if shit happens to me, my friends get to hear about it, but, the wider public won't. Yeah. Anyways.
People, they're just losing their jobs, and that's that. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of no one speaking up for the black trans women that are murdered all the time. And where was the people standing up for Naomi Hersey when she was stabbed in a hotel room? And then if, say, a white gay man is assaulted, it gets so much more press than if a black trans woman is assaulted. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't be outraged if a white gay man is assaulted. That's disgusting also, but we need the same outrage for our trans sisters and brothers and non-binary people. It's disproportionate, and lives are being prioritised, and black trans women are on the bottom.
I actually found that pretty upsetting, to be honest, and I'm also actually very angry about it. And
I don't know if it's in this version. I did see a version where at the end she was in tears. I don't know if Owen mentions it here, but you could tell that was taking her toll on her, and one has to look after the mental health first. So I don't blame her for quitting Twitter. I am sure that Rosa Dawn will call her a fucking snowflake and dump on her again. And I just find it repugnant that another trans person can do that to Munroe Bergdorf. Yes, Rose of Dawn. Do you know what? I'm going to leave this until Friday. There's something else I want to talk about Rose of Dawn about, but I'll leave that until Friday. I've had my fill of her today. So this is an article being published in the Metro by Al. I've met Al, one of the organisers of Trans Pride Brighton, along with her partner Fox. Really lovely person. Let's go through this article because, well, I think she's right to draw the comparisons. 28, Section 28 may be long repealed, but it doesn't feel like that for trans people. Yeah, it doesn't. So, with a heavy heart and tears in my eyes, I watched the story of It's a Sin on Channel 4. A lot of people asked me, have I watched that? And I haven't. It's the drama set in the early 80s about the gay community. I think it's written by Russell T Davies. So I will get around to checking it out at some point. I just haven't done so. Yeah, been preoccupied with other viewing pleasure. Seeing the immense impact of the HIV crisis. Yeah, we talk about the COVID pandemic. Well, the HIV, for the LGBTQ community was devastating in the 80s. The HIV crisis had on gay men in particular, dramatised in such a way, was incredibly powerful and harrowing reminder of how people were treated because of their sexual orientation only a few decades ago. During the show, the passing of Section 28 is portrayed back in 1988. For those who don't know, Section 28 was a law banned the promotion of homosexuality in schools, meaning that neither teachers or students could talk openly about gay or bisexual or transgender for that matter. True. And, well, some people seem to want to bring it back, don't they? The arguments behind Section 28 focused on gay people being a threat to children. Yep, as I've already explored. And to fundamental norms of society as they were. Or as former journalist and current Prime Minister Boris Johnson wrote in 2000 in response to Tony Blair wanting to repeal the law, we don't want our children being taught some rubbish about homosexual marriage being the same as normal marriage, and that why I am more than happy to support Section 28. Well, yeah, we know Boris has got a homophobic past. What's he called? He called gay men, what was it? Bum benders in tank tops or something or other. I forgot, was that the actual quote? But even though Section 28 is no more, it feels like it is. You know, the think of the children trope is being used as a shield and justification to oppose legal progress and equality for trans people. Yeah, it is. Examples of this are arguments claiming that children are being tricked into becoming transgender. As I've said, that's utter bullshit. No child is being tricked or brainwashed or what the fuck ever. Instead of allowing them to grow up to be a lesbian or gay. Yeah, I mean, that's the argument which J.K. Rowling is spouting, isn't it? The same things were said about gay people to prevent them from being talked about in front of children. Meanwhile, the voices of actual trans kids and teenagers are rarely heard. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you always hear that, what about the children? What about the children? What about the children? You know, as in, you know, they think that children are being brainwashed into thinking they're trans. How about the children who are trans? I don't want to go through, you know, the puberty. Don't want to go through sorry, let me calm down. So let's say you have a trans child who, is a trans woman, okay? Essentially, trans girl. Well, they are not going to want to go through male puberty. I can tell you this from experience. I was forced to go through a puberty I didn't want to go through. Okay? Now, I'd say that's fucking child abuse. Pure and simple. Just like gay people, trans people do not pose a threat to the lives of normal people. Well, no, because trans people are normal people. Trans people just want to be able to live their lives to the fullest and be allowed to participate in society without facing harassment, stigma, and violence. In It's a Sin, the show depicts a deeply embedded idea of LGBT plus being a risk to children. Is when one of the main gay characters, Richie, says he thinks it should be inappropriate to talk about gay people in front of children. Believe it or not, there are still people who think that. They live around me, I can tell you that. I don't know if you remember when Strictly Come Dancing last series. There were a whole load of complaints about there being a same-sex couple, and it was, what about the children? Was the common thing. I mean, yeah, Anne Widdecombe, well, you know, the homophobic hag, was one of those, wasn't she? I mean, she now thinks she's probably Mary fucking Whitehouse, doesn't she? Yeah, well, I'd never liked Mary Whitehouse either, did I? Whatever. While I wasn't raised in the UK and didn't, I should say Al is from Iceland. While I wasn't raised in the UK and didn't experience what it was like to be LGBT plus in schools here, issues of sexuality and gender identity were not spoken of in schools back in Iceland. in the 1990s or early noughties either. The topic of being gay was only brought up once in class, as far as I can remember, and the only time I ever saw trans people mentioned was on TV, where they were shown as objects of hilarity, shame, or disgust. Yeah, we were objectified, or we were seen as some sort of, like, if you did get like serious documentaries like Change of Sex comes to mind. It was always sort of scientific curiosity, I guess. It wasn't good. Anyways, they had a profound effect on me and pushed me further into the closet. I can only imagine the impact it had on people to have a law that banned LGBT plus issues being openly discussed in schools. Section 28 marks a dark history in the UK's treatment of LGBT plus people. Generations of people were raised under the idea that their identity was perverted and shameful, and something that should encourage children something that could encourage children to take up an unwanted and dangerous lifestyle. Yeah, there's still trans people. I'm not going to mention any names at the moment, but there is at least one trans woman I know who's actually relatively well known, actually, who still seems to think, because they grew up in the 60s, funny enough, that being trans is something shameful. Seriously, they do. While the law was repealed in 2003 in England and Wales, the rhetoric behind it still lives on, albeit at different forms. The very same things people said about gay people are now being said about trans. Yeah, exactly, they are. Right, okay. I'm not going to read it all, but interesting article. Go check it out. It's in the Metro. Al does get published in various publications, including The Independent, relatively regularly. So, and she always has good things to say. So, please do check her out, and her work. Yes. Over the weekend, I saw Boycott the Census was trending. And there are people who think the census is, big brotherish, and so I thought, well, that's what it's about. And then I noticed Gender Critical was trending as well. So I went and checked out Gender Critical. Obviously, Gender Critical is what TERFs refer to themselves. They say we're gender critical. They say they're gender critical feminists, which is hilarious because they're the one bunch of people who are the least critical about gender that I know of. And basically, the TERFs were getting in a bind about the census being more possible, being more inclusive towards trans people. So, inclusion of a question on gender for the first time in the UK census has been welcomed as a good first step by some in the transgender community. The voluntary question in the 2021 survey reads, "Is the gender you identify with the same as the sex registered at birth?" It's a step forward. And, well, basically, if you're over 16, you can tick yes or no. Yeah. And, I mean, what's the problem? I mean, well, mind you, these are TERFs. Just proving that they just hate trans people. That's it. They just hate trans people. Yeah, they will get their panties in a bind about just about anything. which is more inclusive of trans people. Now, I remember when Stonewall, because some people who are not up with the LGBTQ community might not know, but up until 2014, Stonewall actually did not advocate for trans people. They advocated for lesbian, gays and bisexuals, but not for trans people. I could go into the history, but I can't be bothered. But anyways, when Ruth Hunt, who was the CEO of Stonewall at the time, made the decision to start speaking up for trans people, as well as the rest of the LGBT community, TERFs threw a fit about it. And there's been other things, such as when Labour have all female shortlists for MPs, and they've included trans women on those lists. They don't like stuff like that. They don't like the inclusion of trans people. They want trans people to be, pushed out of society, essentially. That's what they want. They want to, they don't want us, they would like to grow, either at the very least they would want there to be an apartheid, and at very worst they would just actually like to exterminate us. Right. Okay, before we get to my favourite section of the show, let me just check on the chat. Hi, Ozma. Just looking at the chat. They also ultimately accept. Sorry, I don't know what you mean by they also. Oh, hold on. Admittedly, yeah, they do hate just. Well, yeah, the TERFs just hate trans people. It's the same. Rosa Dawn is too busy sucking off the dead. The one, I assume. Well, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put necrophilia past her. That's a joke. Allegedly. That's a joke. But I mean, for instance, we know that Blair White does get funding indirectly from the Koch Foundation. So, Rosa Dawn getting a hand up from the Koch brothers, it wouldn't surprise me. It's good to see you, Ozma. I'm a bit worried about you. Anyways, come to my favourite part of the show. Shit on Starmer! Because he's Captain Clueless, he will never come to the rescue. So Len McCluskey, now this is from last year, but I thought I'd bring it up because it's a very valid point he makes about Jeremy Corbyn. Let's have a listen to what he has to say.
Is this? Of course it's utter nonsense. If you're challenging Jeremy Corbyn with bringing young people into politics once again, then he'd plead guilty. And thankfully, the Labour Party was dying. The Labour Party was hollowed out in most of our constituencies throughout the UK. And what Corbyn did, he reignited an enthusiasm that brought lots of people. What? It was people, commentators, not necessarily you, Stephen, who were telling us that young people are not interested in politics. Well, suddenly they've seen something different and they flocked to the Labour Party. These are decent. These are all.
Absolutely true. What Len McCluskey says, and I should declare my bias here, Len McCluskey is the leader of the Unite Union, which happens to be my union. And I'm glad I'm glad, there is a voice like Len McCluskey. I know some people say, didn't he sign some sort of transphobic manifesto? Yeah, accidentally. I think he has apologised for that. And he has come out in support of trans rights, as far as I know. But anyway, Len McCluskey is absolutely fucking right. Okay? Jeremy Corbyn saved the Labour Party. And I know some people say, no, he didn't. They look at the last election result. Right, okay. Let me explain, right? Before Corbyn came in, right, the Labour Party was dying. Right? It's dying now since he, stepped down as leader. But when he was leader, he infused a whole fucking generation. Look how many people flocked to support the Labour Party. Just remember, he came within a whisker of becoming Prime Minister in 2017. If that election campaign had gone on for another week, despite, that there was a parallel fucking Blairite, campaign trying to nobble him, he would have been Prime Minister. I'm telling you, he would have. And are you telling me he would have made a more of a fuck up that over of the response to COVID than fucking Boris Johnson has? Look, here's the thing, right? So Jeremy Corbyn infused a generation, right, of young people. Starmer is boring them away, right? And Starmer's answer now is to basically hire fucking Peter Mandelson. Yes, the Blairite Prince of Darkness. Look, Mandelson might have won. I know what the Blairites are going to say. Well, he helped win 3 general elections. Yes, and then helped lose 2. Can I just remind you, the last sort of election he was fully involved with was 2010. I know he did give some advice to Ed Miliband in 2015. So sure, he won 3 elections and lost 2. That's almost on par. And he's yesterday's man. He's fucking yesterday's man. I mean, if this is the answer, I am actually seriously worried now whether there will be a Labour Party in 10 years. The way Starmer's going. I'm telling you, the local election results are going to be fucking bad for Labour. I don't even know if Sadiq Khan will hang on as mayor in London. They're particularly not going to get good election. They're certainly not going to get good results in Scotland. But obviously that was on the cards anyways. But even if Corbyn had been leader, I hate to think. If Corbyn had been leader, I think there might have been some inroads. But yeah, I think. Anyways, Starmer. I mean, I'm going to say it now. If Sean Berry doesn't just speak up, saying trans women are women, in her campaign to be London Mayor, and actually gets real in tackling the Green Party's transphobic problem, then I will endorse and support the Green Party. I can't support Labour. Keir Starmer's answer is to do a Nigel Farage and wrap himself up in the flag and say patriotism's the answer to fucking everything, despite the fact that the far right think he's a plastic patriot. He was never. Here's the other thing, right? And it's always really fucking annoyed me. I've forgotten to say this. So, every fucking Labour leader, other than Jeremy Corbyn, right, has tried to woo the likes of the Daily Mail, right? I think it was obvious that Corbyn, he was never going to win over the Tory fucking press, right? But, Ed Miliband, Gordon Brown, almost called him George Brown, no? Gordon Brown, Tony Blair, they're always trying to woo the fucking Tory fucking press. And, alright, yeah, sure, Blair got the backing of the Sun, but fuck me, how morally bankrupt do you have to be to suck up to fucking Rupert Murdoch? But anyways, the thing is that there are sections of the Tory press Labour are just never going to win over, so fucking forget it. Fuck off with all this, patriotism and the flag and, dressing smartly and, hey, let's, roll down the slope towards fucking fascism. And how about Labour getting back to some basics like, equality and social justice and, actually supporting trans rights rather than sitting on the fucking fence about it all? Hey? I'm really done. I have to say, I am pretty much done with Labour, and it's really sad because, Labour should be the party I look to represent my concerns, but no. Anyways, okay, so that's the end of another show. Hope folks enjoyed it. Tomorrow I will be doing a live show at 7. I will be chatting with somebody. I won't say who, but I will give a clue. It's somebody who, well, the clue is my interview with Kevin Logan, right? So somebody, you know, who's worked closely with Kevin over the years. My interview with Vera Wild, aka Council of Geeks, should be up sometime tomorrow. As I said, I had a lovely chat with her. We were pressed for time because she's got a pretty hectic life, but you know, she's a really lovely person. Please go and check out her channel. Anyways, so, well, until the next time, you know, goodbye for now. Oh shit, I forgot to do the usual. Right, so if you like this, I managed to get the intro right, but I haven't got the outro right. I can't win them all. Alright, so if you like this video, well, give it a like. Please share it with your friends. Please drop us a comment below if you want to give us any feedback. And most important of all, please subscribe. That is the best way you can help this channel at the moment. Never mind about Patreon or follow me on Twitter. Just subscribe and get your friends to subscribe. You don't have to watch every video I put out, but you know, I just really need people to subscribe. So until the next time. Oh, one last thing. I should mention this. Okay, Ozma, are you doing a show tonight? Can you tell me in chat? Come on, Ozma, are you still there? I was going to give you a plug. Yeah, I'll give you a plug anyway. Ozma does a show on Wednesday evenings. Rainbow Shelter Rainbow News, or is it Rainbow Shelter News? On her Fluid, is it? I think it's on the Fluid Voice channel, or be on the Ozma the Dark channel on YouTube. So check that out. Okay, well, until the next time, you know, peace out.